Indigenous people need and access to financial resources are crucial for them to enjoy the right to self-determination.
Mr. Chair, I would also like to take this opportunity to respond to remarks made earlier by one participant, which appeared to advocate for or insinuate support for the disintegration of our sovereign nation. Allow me to reiterate that across Indonesia's archipelago, from Aceh to Papua, we continue to uphold the rights of our Adat communities within the framework of our national commitment to unity in diversity and inclusive development. The individual who spoke does not even reside in Indonesia and certainly does not represent the views or interests of the Papuan people, nor any legitimate or recognized entity within the Republic of Indonesia.
And we are here to claim it. We call on this expert mechanism to condemn Indonesia ongoing human rights violation in Aceh, to demand the withdrawal of military forces, and to support our struggle for independence. Indonesia must be held accountable and Aceh must be free. Insyaallah, Getanyau akan merdeka dari penjajah Indonesia. I thank you.
Friends, welcome to the Manuscript Papua YouTube channel. Hi everyone, thank you for joining us here at Manuscript Papua. Pelapor khusus Perserikatan Bangsa-Bangsa yang menangani isu masyarakat adat, yaitu Albert K. Barume, telah melakukan kunjungan langsung ke Papua pada bulan Juli tahun 2025. Dalam kunjungannya tersebut, ia menemukan berbagai fakta di lapangan, termasuk pengakuan dari masyarakat adat di Papua, bahwa pemerintah Indonesia diduga telah memberikan laporan yang tidak sesuai kenyataan kepada PBB mengenai situasi masyarakat adat di Papua. Pada pertemuan yang merupakan pertemuan ke-6 dalam rangkaian sesi ke-18 mekanisme ahli mengenai hak-hak masyarakat adat atau MRIP yang diselenggarakan pada tanggal 16 bulan Juli tahun 2025. Dalam forum ini, Dr. Albert K. Barume menyampaikan hasil investigasi globalnya. Meskipun beliau tidak menyebutkan Papua secara spesifik, ia kembali menekankan pentingnya koordinasi di antara semua mekanisme PBB yang menangani masyarakat adat. Ia juga menyoroti berbagai aspek penting seperti hak untuk menentukan nasib sendiri, prinsip persetujuan bebas dan berdasarkan informasi, hak atas tanah, isu perbatasan, militerisasi, hingga migrasi, yang semuanya memberikan wawasan dan analisis mendalam mengenai kondisi masyarakat adat di berbagai belahan dunia. Dalam sesi ini, Indonesia juga mengungkapkan sikap resmi dari pemerintah Indonesia terkait isu penentuan nasib sendiri. Delegasi Indonesia juga mencermati laporan MRIP dan menyampaikan pengakuan bahwa ekonomi tradisional merupakan bagian yang tidak terpisahkan dari identitas budaya, mata pencaharian, dan keberlanjutan masyarakat adat serta komunitas lokal. Indonesia menegaskan bahwa komunitas masyarakat adat telah lama memainkan peran penting dalam menjaga pengetahuan tradisional dan praktik berkelanjutan. Konstitusi Indonesia mengakui keberadaan mereka dan menjamin perlindungan hak-hak tersebut melalui kerangka hukum yang bertingkat. Hingga saat ini, terdapat paling tidak 9 undang-undang nasional yang memberikan jaminan perlindungan terhadap hak masyarakat adat atas tanah, hutan, wilayah pesisir, serta sumber daya alam lainnya. Pernyataan dari pihak delegasi Indonesia ini tentunya berbanding terbalik dengan hasil temuan Albert K. Barume yang telah berkunjung ke Papua pada bulan Juli 2025 dan mendengarkan secara langsung keluh kesah masyarakat adat di sana, bahwa pemerintah Indonesia berusaha merampas hak masyarakat adat di Papua dengan cara militeristik. Ini fakta yang terjadi di Papua. Dalam forum ini, pemerintah Indonesia juga menekankan komitmennya untuk terus menjunjung tinggi hak-hak komunitas adat di seluruh kepulauan Nusantara, dari ujung barat di Aceh hingga ujung timur di Papua, sebagai bagian dari semangat persatuan dalam keberagaman dan pembangunan yang inklusif. Lebih lanjut, delegasi pemerintah Indonesia menyatakan bahwa pihak-pihak yang menyuarakan tuntutan penentuan nasib sendiri seperti dari Papua, Aceh, atau Maluku, mereka tidak tinggal di wilayah Indonesia dan tidak mewakili kepentingan rakyat Papua atau Aceh atau Maluku, maupun entitas yang sah dalam sistem kenegaraan Republik Indonesia. Pihak Indonesia menilai upaya mempertanyakan status Papua atau provinsi-provinsi lainnya soal dalam penentuan nasib sendiri dinilai bertentangan dengan hukum internasional, serta mengabaikan suara demokratis dari jutaan warga yang telah berpartisipasi aktif dalam kehidupan politik dan sipil. Dalam forum yang sama, seorang perwakilan dari Aceh, Tengku Fajri Krueng, menyampaikan pandangannya. Bapak Ketua, delegasi yang terhormat, rekan-rekan masyarakat adat, nama saya Tengku Fajri Krueng. Saya berbicara atas nama 6 juta penduduk asli Aceh. Kami bukan masyarakat adat sebagaimana dikategorikan oleh pemerintah Indonesia, namun kami adalah penduduk asli di tanah kami sendiri. Saya hadir di sini untuk menyampaikan kebenaran, sebuah kebenaran yang selama ini coba dibungkam, tentang pelanggaran hak asasi manusia yang dilakukan oleh pemerintah Indonesia secara sistematis, brutal, dan tanpa pertanggungjawaban. Baru-baru ini, 6 batalion pasukan militer tambahan dikerahkan ke Aceh tanpa alasan jelas. Ini adalah upaya intimidasi dan kontrol terhadap rakyat kami. Dalam suasana militerisasi ini, masyarakat hidup dalam ketakutan. Desa-desa adat diawasi, anak-anak dibungkam, dan kehidupan kami dijalani dalam bayang-bayang kekerasan. Ini bukan sesuatu yang baru. Selama puluhan tahun, rakyat Aceh menjadi korban pembunuhan massal, penghilangan paksa, penyiksaan, pemerkosaan, dan pemindahan paksa. Sumber daya kami, minyak, gas, dan hutan, diambil tanpa persetujuan, tanpa manfaat untuk kami. Janji otonomi sebagaimana tertuang dalam Perjanjian Helsinki, yang ditandatangani pada tahun 2005 belum pernah sepenuhnya ditepati. Kami tidak diberi kebebasan untuk mengibarkan bendera kami sendiri. Kami tidak bisa mengajarkan sejarah kami. Hak-hak kami terus diabaikan. Oleh karena itu, kami menyatakan dengan tegas bahwa solusi bukanlah lebih banyak dialog dengan Jakarta, melainkan kemerdekaan. Rakyat Aceh berhak untuk bebas dari pendudukan, dari militerisasi, dan dari eksploitasi. Pasal 3 dan 4 dalam Deklarasi PBB tentang hak-hak masyarakat adat menjamin hak kami untuk menentukan nasib sendiri. Hari ini kami hadir di sini untuk menuntut hak tersebut. Tengku Fajri menutup pernyataannya dengan 3 tuntutan utama. 1. Mengutuk pelanggaran HAM yang terus berlangsung di Aceh. 2. Menuntut penarikan seluruh pasukan militer dari wilayah Aceh. Dan 3. Mendukung perjuangan kemerdekaan Aceh. Ia menegaskan, Indonesia harus bertanggung jawab dan Aceh harus merdeka. Insya Allah. Friends, don't forget to leave a positive comment. Warm greetings from Manuscript Papua.
Manuscript Papua.
Get ready for the countdown. 3, 2, 1.
I would like to welcome Albert Barume, the recently appointed Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. I will start now by giving the floor to Albert Barume, Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. You have the floor.
It's here. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to everybody. Madam Chairperson, newly elected Chair of the Expert Mechanism on the Right of Indigenous Peoples, distinguished member of the Expert Mechanism on the Right of Indigenous Peoples, delegates of member states, representatives of indigenous people organizations, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to address the expert mechanisms and all those participating in this session. I would like first to obviously congratulate Madam Chair for your election. I wish you fruitful mandates, and I look forward to working with you. And allow me also to extend my congratulations to the members of the expert mechanism for their dedication and excellent work. Mr. Chair, allow me just to make my short statement on 3 main points. The first point, Mr. Chair, is about coordination. I would like to take this opportunity to speak for the first time as a special rapporteur on the right of indigenous people, to reaffirm the importance of coordination between all United Nations mechanisms working on indigenous peoples, namely, obviously, the MRIP, the Permanent Forum, the Voluntary Fund, and myself, in order to advance the right of indigenous people worldwide. Since taking the Special Rapporteur mandate in January 2025, I have co-signed with the chairperson of MRIP and the Permanent Forum letters to donors regarding the second climate pledge for indigenous peoples. I have also participated in numerous coordination meetings, and I have kept the communication line with all the mechanisms wide open. Mr. Chair and Madam Chairperson, one particular type of coordination that I would like, however, to underline is the systematic cross-referencing of features as bodies of fundings and recommendations. By explicitly building upon and referencing one another's work this mechanism can generate a unified and coherent body of knowledge, and thereby reducing fragmentation of knowledge, ensuring coherent interpretation, and increasing the impact of our collective effort. Such coordination ensures that a clear understanding, best practices, case studies, and jurisprudential advances are disseminated widely, and that implementation of the UNDRIP is informed by one full coherent spectrum of knowledge available within the United Nations. I would like to take this opportunity to commend UNDRIP for its growing role in knowledge generation. Its reports and study on the declaration have become invaluable tool for governments, indigenous peoples, advocates, academics, and UN experts alike, serving as guidance in interpretation and understanding of the declaration. In my own initial report on land and recognition, for example, the UNDRIP thematic report and studies covering self-determination, free, prior, and informed consent, land rights, border issue, militarization, and migration provided me with unique insights and analysis to which I refer substantially. This is, in my view, Mr. Chair and Madam Chair, the way forward if we were to effectively coordinate. Allow me, secondly, to make a few comments on your coming report regarding traditional economy. This is because traditional economy are central to indigenous people's rights. They are part of the right to self-determination of indigenous people. And allow me to just make a few comments or remarks for your potential consideration. First, indigenous people have expressed a concern to me about climate change-related initiatives that may restrict their development option, particularly with regard to livelihood, that form the foundation of their traditional economies. The potential expansion of protected area, the development of the carbon market, and the shift toward green energy may impose restriction on the ability of indigenous peoples to pursue their traditional livelihoods. Indigenous people may face circumstances where they are compelled to relinquish their traditional occupation, as indicated in many cases reported to me. Secondly, indigenous people need and access to financial resources are crucial for them to enjoy the right to self-determination. And that is, states should both provide funding and empower indigenous people to generate income through their own enterprises and traditional activity. This is in line of the provision of the United Nations Declaration on the Right of Indigenous People. Said Mr. Chair, indigenous people economies are also built on their traditional occupations, which are often stereotyped and demeaned as wasteful of natural resources. These traditional occupations are generally not formally recognized or protected by law. However, Mr. Chair, there is a widely ratified treaty, namely the ILO Convention number 111 or 111 on discrimination in employment and occupation that provides protection for traditional economy as viable economic activities. I highly recommend UNDRIP to look into how that key but often forgotten international instruments can enhance and inform the report. For, Mr. Chair, the role of indigenous women and youth in traditional economy cannot be overstated. Fifth, Mr. Chair, the criminalization of certain aspects of indigenous people traditional economy is another key aspect or issue to address. These affect particularly hunter-gatherers and mobile indigenous people. I continue to receive reports of in many countries where traditional hunting and search for grazing land are criminalized. Yet many indigenous people have no other source of animal protein, sometimes than from traditional hunting. 6, and finally, Mr. Chair, indigenous people traditional economy rely on their right to land, territory, and resources, including waters, which should be recognized and protected. Since me taking the mandate, I have traveled extensively and visited numerous indigenous peoples in remote areas who experience unprecedented pressure on their land. Indigenous people now occupy only the last portion of their ancestral territory, having been continuously displaced for centuries. As a result, they have no further land to push back to. They are living in the last square meters of what used to be their traditional occupation. The pressure on land resources is reflected in an increasing criminalization of indigenous people, violence against indigenous human rights defenders, and the lack of access to justice. My mandate has been informed about repression of peaceful protests, disproportionate use of force, arbitrary detention, and cases of sexual violence against indigenous women who dare protecting their traditional territory. In many cases, this is fueled by hate speech, including in social media. Last but not least, Mr. Chair, allow me to say a little bit on what I consider as unprecedented threat on indigenous people's rights. Indigenous people's rights has never been at such risk. In today's world, influential actors are challenging established international law principles by portraying principle and norm of non-discrimination as detrimental to society. Principles and norms related to fostering an inclusive and tolerant society, including those established under the Convention Against Racial Discrimination, to provide special measures that ensure equality for victims of structural discrimination, are being presented as threat to society and threat to individual freedom. Mr. Chair, indigenous people's rights are primarily built on the norm and principle of non-discrimination that are now branded as unfit for free society. All forms of speech and statement appear now to be allowed. A few days ago, as a special rapporteur, I released a statement condemning a declaration from a news commentator on social media saying, and I quote, "We did not kill enough Indians." This degree of public hate speech has not been seen for many decades. Moreover, as a special rapporteur, I'm receiving growing reports from indigenous people regarding instances of state regressing on their national and international commitment toward indigenous people's rights. In numerous countries, legislative bodies, political parties, and various measures are being discussed or passed to reduce the protection of indigenous people's rights in domestic legislation. Mr. Chair, this is something that we need to ring the bell about. In conclusion, Mr. Chair, I want to highlight also that I see opportunity in the current global context. Through my travel and engagement with indigenous people from all corners of the world recently, I have witnessed their resilience, the power of their governance institutions and network, their active engagement for constructive solution, and their solid determination to consequently frame their claim within international human rights framework. Indigenous people position themselves as leaders and essential partner to state and to other members of society. Within the United Nations, the UN Permanent Forum, the expert mechanism on the right of indigenous people, the voluntary fund and the mandate of the Special Rapporteur should continue to reinforce the voice of indigenous people and to ensure the declaration serves as an instrument to reconcile states and indigenous people. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Now I give the floor to Indonesia, following by National UHR's Forum. Indonesia, you have the floor.
Panelists, Indonesia takes note of the MRIP report and recognizes that traditional economies are integral to the cultural identity, livelihoods, and sustainability of indigenous peoples and local communities. In the Indonesian context, Masyarakat Adat or Adat communities have long played a critical role in preserving traditional knowledge and sustainable practices. Indonesia recognizes these communities within its constitution and protects their rights through a multi-layered legal framework. Currently, at least 9 national laws safeguard customary rights to land, forests, coasts, and other natural resources. Our delegation also wishes to share that on the ground, the Ministry of Agrarian Affairs has initiated pilot projects for documenting customary lands. In West Sumatra and Papua, land management rights certificates have been issued to protect Adat communities and ensure consent-based land use. Those land management rights certificates are essential administrative tools that establish clear demarcation of customary boundaries and prevent any utilization of ancestral land by external parties without the consent of Masyarakat Adat. Mr. Chair, I would also like to take this opportunity to respond to remarks made earlier by one participant, which appeared to advocate for or insinuate support for the disintegration of our sovereign nation. Allow me to reiterate that across Indonesia's archipelago, from Aceh to Papua, we continue to uphold the rights of our Adat communities within the framework of our national commitment to unity in diversity and inclusive development. The individual who spoke does not even reside in Indonesia and certainly does not represent the views or interests of the Papuan people, nor any legitimate or recognized entity within the Republic of Indonesia. Attempts to question the status of Papua and its provinces not only disregard international legal frameworks, but also dismiss the dignity and democratic voice of millions of Papuans who actively participated in Indonesia's civic and political life, including at the 2024 national election. In the province of Papua, for example, around 70% eligible voters have casted their votes at the election. I wish to reaffirm that since the enactment of the Special Autonomy Law in 2001, Papua's provinces have enjoyed an enhanced degree of autonomy and governance. This legal framework provides a strong basis for the promotion of Papuan welfare and rights, including affirmative action for Orang Asli Papua. Under this special autonomy, Indonesia continues to implement comprehensive development initiatives focused on education, healthcare, infrastructure, sustainable development, and cultural preservation with the active involvement of local communities. I thank you.
Now I give the floor to Aceh Sumatra indigenous peoples, following by the Philippines.
Right, just give me. Okay, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for giving us opportunity to speak, as we have been waiting since Monday from item 3. Mr. Chair, distinguished delegate, fellow indigenous peoples, my name is Tengku Fajri Krong, and I speak on behalf of the 6 million indigenous people of Aceh, Sumatra, and we are not Masyarakat Adat, as Indonesia stated earlier, but we are the indigenous people of our land. I come before you today to speak the truth, and many have tried to silence. The Indonesian government continue to violate the human right of Acehese people systematically, brutally, and without accountability. Just recently, Indonesia has deployed 6 additional battalions of military forces into Aceh for no reason, just to intimidate, suppress, and control our people. With this new wave of militarizations, communities live in fear. Indigenous villages are being watched, voices are silenced, and the daily life is overshadowed by the threats of violence. This is not new. For decades, Indonesia has committed crimes against people of Aceh. Mass killing, enforced disappearances, torture, rape, and displacements. Our land has been plundered. Our oil, gas, and forests taken without our consent and without benefit to our community. We are treated not as citizens, but as colony. The so-called autonomy promised in 2005 Helsinki Agreement was never honored by Indonesia. We are not allowed to raise our own flags. We are not free to teach our history. Our right as indigenous nation are denied at every level. We declare clearly and firmly the solution is not more dialogue with Jakarta. The solution is independent. The people of Aceh have the right to be free from Indonesia occupation, from militarizations, from exploitation. Article 3 and 4 of the UN Declaration on the Right of Indigenous People affirm our right to self-determination, and we are here to claim it. We call on this expert mechanism to condemn Indonesia ongoing human rights violation in Aceh, to demand the withdrawal of military forces, and to support our struggle for independence. Indonesia must be held accountable and Aceh must be free. InsyaAllah, Getanyau akan merdeka dari penjajah Indonesia. I thank you.
Teman-teman, terima kasih banyak telah menyaksikan siaran di channel YouTube Manuskrip Papua. Kami sangat menghargai setiap dukungan yang kalian berikan. Tanpa kalian, perjalanan channel ini tidak akan terasa seistimewa ini. Salam dan hormat dari YouTuber Manuskrip Papua.